how many months.
Is this in celebration of springtime or
Maybe I
your
just
hair?
I had a baby shower today.
Oh,
So I
okay.
just decided to. I was like, if I'm going to 2 Zoom calls, like I might as
Oh,
well
it
do
was a Zoom
something.
shower.
Yes,
Okay.
they live on the West Coast, so I thought, like they said, it was at 1 p.m. and I forgot to account for the time zone difference, and so I
Oh.
showed up at 1 p.m. my time, and they were like, "Yeah, it's at 4 p.m. your time."
Oh, well then it's good we moved our usual time because we usually
Yeah,
record at 4:30. So I guess that was that worked
yeah,
out nicely
yeah.
for
So it was
everyone.
nice to see them.
That's
Yeah.
good. Cool. Did you
So I
guys do
decided to wear
baby
makeup.
shower games over Zoom or
No,
no?
the
Didn't.
the baby is actually born. So they actually scheduled the baby shower a month before the due date, and the baby came a month before the due date, like on the day of the
The
shower
baby
that
was
it was
like,
supposed to
"You're
be.
not having a party without me."
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
So the baby's now a month old.
That kid is had a serious case of FOMO.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. Um, well, welcome to the Feminine Mistake podcast, everyone.
Welcome,
Uh,
Nicole.
I'm I'm one of your hosts, Nicole,
I'm your other host, Sarah.
and ordinarily we have a guest on the podcast, but today we're having what we call a toasty hosty,
Mhm.
which means basically that it's just me and Sarah. So you're just stuck with us.
Aw, shucks.
Ah, shucks, you're just stuck with us. And today we're going to be discussing Promising Young Woman, which I had
Yes.
meant to pull up on my IMDb, but I just finished watching this movie and I'm so shooketh that I did not properly get myself set up here. I'm just like shell shocked. I literally just finished watching this. I mean, not just. I finished it about an hour ago.
Yeah.
And I texted Sarah. I'm going to be honest with you,
She
listeners.
was like, "Okay, well."
I was like, I don't know if I can talk about this movie right now. Like, and I want to be clear that I think this is a great film. I also want to be clear from the beginning that if you're listening to this show, this film, just to give you a sense of what it's about, is about a young woman whose best friend was raped in college.
Mhm.
And this is an event that she hasn't been able to let go of and is wanting to seek revenge.
Mhm.
So there we are going to be talking about a lot of tough stuff today because of the subject matter of this movie. So if any of that is triggering for you or if you don't want to listen to that, then I please take care of yourself and skip this episode.
Yeah.
Whoever has seen this movie that is listening to this now, however you felt about it, whatever emotions it brought up for you or whatever, um that is total, whatever you're feeling is totally valid, whether you dislike the movie or liked the movie or liked it but didn't enjoy the experience of watching it or whatever it dug up for you. All of that is valid. So I just want to put that at the top. If this is going to be a triggering subject for you, please do take care of yourself and come back and join us next month when we're talking about something else.
Yeah.
I texted Sarah after finishing this about an hour ago, and I was like, I don't know if I can talk about this movie right now. It's a lot. And I had to go take a shower. Not because I felt dirty after watching the movie, but just because I needed to reset my
Mhm.
body and my
Mhm.
senses. So this is I feel very raw right now and I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. I mean I have written down some notes obviously, but I just want to get that right up front that this movie really shook me. And that's how I guess that's how I'm going to begin this. So we're going to skip over talking about what we've been watching right now because I just really want to just get into the movie. So I guess Sarah, is there anything you want to say at the top?
Um, yeah, this movie was very intense, and I thought it was very well done, well made, well acted, all that, but I didn't really like it.
Okay. Fair. That's fair. So, I would like to start by, so of course this film came out in 2020. Written and directed by Emerald Fennell. Nominated for 5 Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
Including Best Motion Picture of the Year, Best Performance by Carey Mulligan, Best Achievement in Directing by Emerald Fennell, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Achievement in Film Editing. Now this is the and I'm just going to look at the other nominees here for Best Director. I believe this year, yeah, this is the first year and in the history of the Oscars that 2 different women have been nominated for Best Director in the Best Directing category in the Oscars history.
Wow.
So that's a pretty big deal. One of the reasons I wanted to do this movie's been on my radar for a while. I saw the trailer for it last year, and then it kind of left my mind, and I was like, ooh, that's interesting. And then when it was nominated, I was like, ooh, we should watch that on the show. And boy, did I get a lot more than I bargained for with this one. So I guess I'm inadvertently talking about my experience with the movie prior to the podcast. So what about you, Sarah? Had you known anything about this movie before we decided to do it on the show?
I had not heard of this film before. No, I only heard it from you. So
Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm completely blind today.
Completely blind. So you also watched it today. That's right, because you texted me.
I watched it like 6 a.m.
Yeah, you get up at like before the sun even
Before
rises.
The crack of dawn.
Like you are up in the morning when I am still up at night reading fan fiction. Like we're like that meme from Umbrella Academy when number 5 and Vanya are passing each other in the cars. And it's you going to bed at 3 a.m. and me going, you waking up at 3 a.m. and me going to sleep at 3 a.m. We're like, it's a wonder that we're even able to be awake at the same time of day, honestly. Okay, well, that's our experience with the film Promising Young Woman prior to the podcast. So let's just get right into talking about this movie.
The house is a mess, Jack. The kids are a mess, Jack. You're a mess, Jack.
You have been a total bitch ever since you came to New York.
You seem sort of distant.
Let's just do it, man.
You look stupid and rich. Stupid and rich.
Fascist.
All right, let's get into it.
Promising Young Woman, 2020. What does the term promising young woman mean to you?
Well, they always say promising young man when they're talking about men who have been accused of sexual harassment, rape, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Promising young man.
Yeah. So
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's absolutely. And then it's, of course, we don't want to ruin a promising young man's future with these allegations. I think it has I think that for sure. And then the other meaning to me, I think, is that it reminds me of her mother saying to Cassie, you had such a promising future. You were going to med school.
You were going to be a doctor.
You were going to be a doctor. You don't have a boyfriend. You know, she should be a nice girl who went to med school and got herself a husband by now.
Yep.
Like Madison. Right?
Yeah.
Or was it Mackenzie? Was it Madison? I don't know. Okay, yeah. That's one of those
yeah.
sorority names. Anyway, so I think that it has that meaning as well. Okay. So we didn't talk about this off mic, but I'd like to go in order of the events of the film, not necessarily everything. I don't think we can cover everything. We could talk about this movie for months, but whatever we're going to go through, I'd like to go through it in chronological order, if that's okay with you. I would like to start with the opening credits.
The men's
butts.
Dancing, the men's butts. The dancing.
Yeah. I'd like to talk about how the movie immediately hits you with this like subversion of the male gaze. And not a subversion like the female gaze. Because we've talked on the show about the female gaze and what that means and how it focuses on different things in a film than the male gaze does.
Mhm.
What I'm talking about is like a satirical. They're making fun of the male gaze because what you usually see in a movie when they introduce a woman. Still, I was just watching a show that somebody was like, "You should watch this; it's really good," and I immediately was like, "Fuck this show," because they introduced a character by showing her dancing at a party, but they started on her butt and then went up to her face. And I was like, immediately fuck this movie straight to hell, right? So they did that in this credit sequence, but it was a bunch of guys wearing khakis. And they all are kind of dressed the same, and you're just seeing
And
their
they have
butts.
dad bods.
Yeah, it's not attractive. Like, it's not hot. It just looks stupid. Not
Yeah.
to say that, I mean, all bodies are beautiful, men and women. So I'm not trying to shame, if you got a dad bod, I'm not shaming you, but there was an intention of framing them like you would a young woman's
Yeah.
conventionally shaped body,
Yeah.
but with guys in their khakis dancing, and you can't really tell which butt
Yeah.
belongs to who.
Yeah. And it's just guys. Like no women are on the floor.
Yeah.
And then like it pulls back and okay, so during the opening credits, it's like a slow-mo type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks all dramatic and stuff, and then they pull back and it's no longer slow-mo, and the guys are just like,
They look so dumb. So fucking dumb. Anyway, so I just wanted to bring that up. What do you have on your list that you'd like to talk about first?
Cassie.
Yes, let's
She's the
talk
main
about
character.
Cassie.
She's the promising young woman.
Carey Mulligan.
Carey Mulligan, love her.
Just turned 30 in the movie,
Yes.
right? The character is turned 30.
Yes, she forgets her birthday.
Yes, because it's not important to her as
Yeah.
in this time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and her mom makes such a big deal of it not being a big deal to her.
Why do you think she forgot her birthday?
Because she's in a different world, like she's like lost in the past.
I agree. I think she's stuck in this event that happened to her best friend Nina.
Mhm.
She hasn't been able to move on from it, and so her going on and moving on with her life and being happy, I don't think is something that she can do right now.
Yeah.
And so the idea that she would turn 30 and celebrate another year of her life is just absolutely foreign to her, which is very
Mhm.
sad.
Yeah.
What else do you want to say about Cassie?
So right off the bat, do you want to get into what she does? Like her
Yeah.
curricular, like outside of work, what she likes to
Her
do.
revenge hobby.
Her revenge
Yeah.
hobby. Yeah, as she gets all dressed up and goes out to clubs and bars and pretends to be drunk
Like
or super drunk.
like
Like
unable to
falling
function drunk.
down, drunk,
Yes.
unable to really talk or
Stand.
or you know,
Doesn't
that
know
kind
where
of
her
stuff.
phone is.
Mhm.
Vulnerable.
Yes, and she attracts men who then take advantage of her. They take her back to their apartments or their houses, and we see inside
Well, did
2
you
of
notice who
these.
the first guy is?
Yeah, it's
Adam Brody
Adam
from
Brody.
Jennifer's Body.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to be talking about Jennifer's Body later, by the way. That's something I think there's a kinship between this movie and Jennifer's Body.
Yeah.
And not just because of Adam Brody, but him being in it definitely, I think, also is a important link. I don't know if that was intentional on the part of casting. But it definitely made me think of Jennifer's Body to see him in that role.
Yeah.
She does it's not just guys, she attracts guys who think they're nice guys.
Yeah.
People that say they're nice guys. I'm a nice guy, I would never.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help you out. I'm trying to help you. Let me take care of you.
Yeah, you're safe.
You're safe with me. Wow.
Yeah, that really creeped me out. Him saying, "Shh, you're safe." It's like, no.
There are no nice guys in this movie.
Not in
Not a
this
single one. Not a single one.
No.
Maybe her dad, but he never says I'm a nice guy. He doesn't have to say it.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll get into it, but Ryan, you want him to be a nice guy so
He's not.
bad,
He's
but
not.
he's not.
Nope. None of them are. There are no nice guys in this movie, and I think that's the point the movie is trying to make, that everybody thinks they're a nice guy. but somewhere inside of you, you're not.
But
And I'm
there
not
are
saying
nice guys.
I don't. I don't want to. I understand if you want to debate that. I don't want to debate that because I don't
Okay.
think that's the point of the movie. I don't think the point of the movie is to say, you know, everybody but those guys. The point of the movie is to say, even guys that think they're nice guys, if they have to say I'm a nice guy, you're probably not a nice guy.
Yeah, if they have to say it. But I'm just saying, like, I know men in my life who would never
We all
behave
do.
this way.
We all do. But the fact is that 9 times out of 10, the world believes that most people are the nice guys. They believe that the woman is in the wrong, and we see that time and time again in this movie. And it's on the burden of proof on the woman to prove that he wasn't a nice guy. And so I think the
Mhm.
fact that the movie says there are no nice guys is in a way to balance the scales, because that's the point here. So I'm actually okay with it. Yes, we all know not all men, and again, hashtag not all men, because fuck that hashtag. We all know that there are men out there who would actually try to help someone. But the fact is, whoever they are in this movie, they're not here and they
Yeah.
didn't step in to help.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to say that the bad guys aren't just the ones who are assaulting the women, but the ones that don't do anything to stop it.
Mhm.
And Ryan represents the one that doesn't do anything to stop it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, not every man in reality is a bad person,
Yeah.
but I think many of them have done something that they didn't realize was bad that they're probably not willing to accept. So I'm going to say most men have probably done something that walks the line. If you've touched a woman who didn't want to be touched, if someone said no and you pushed them a little further than they wanted to go, if you've ever let other men catcall someone and not say anything,
Mhm.
if you've ever seen someone in your friend group do something inappropriate to a woman and didn't step in, then guess what? You're also not a nice guy in that moment. So I'm okay with the movie saying in this world there are no nice guys, because we often assume too often that most of them are nice guys.
Mhm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I have to say that, like, I am in a lot of ways on board with the message of this movie, but I really, really dislike the idea of her fishing for men to take advantage of her,
okay.
because it just felt very it's revenge, and I'm just
Mhm.
not a big fan of
Sure.
revenge.
That's fair. But they all she's not making them do anything that they didn't want to do. Like, she just puts herself out there and they make the choice to do what they do.
Mhm.
And
And I get that. I just don't like it.
I get it. I totally get it. And I don't think this movie is necessarily a pleasant experience. Um I don't think it makes revenge satisfying.
Mm.
But I don't know that that's the point either. And
I mean, if they were gonna make revenge satisfying, like, truly, like, I would when I saw the preview for this, I was like, "Oh, no, is she gonna kill them? Is she gonna, like, lure them? Is this gonna be like a slasher film
Mhm.
where she, like, tricks them and then she, like, kills them?"
You know
But
what?
no, all she does is
She makes them
expose them, make
confront
them yeah.
she makes them confront their own evil, which I think is worse. I think it's worse because now will they look inside themselves afterwards? I don't know. Probably
I don't
not.
know.
But that's what she's doing, is exposing their own ugliness.
That's the thing is I feel like that kind of like, what she's doing it would reinforce them saying, "Oh, well, she's a crazy psycho bitch, like, of course, like, I'm I'm a nice guy, she's just being nuts, you know?
Sure. Will it make them change their behavior? Probably not. I don't know if it's about that. I think it's about, I mean, rape isn't about sex, it's about control.
Yeah.
And I would think what fishing gives her is a little bit of control. Because if she had been there, because this isn't a movie. Okay, first of all, Cassie is not the victim of the rape, right? It's her friend Nina. So this is,
Yeah.
in a second, I'd really like to talk to you about rape revenge films because I think it's really important. We need to bring those up, the genre of rape revenge films, because
I had
there's a
no idea
bunch of
it
them.
was a
There's a
genre,
fucking
wow.
ton of them, and
Whoa,
so let's
okay,
talk about it. But
okay.
in a second, I think that what this gives her is this is about survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
She believes that if she had been there the night that Nina got drunk and was raped by Al Monroe,
Mhm.
if she had been there, she could have done something to stop it. So because she wasn't there, she feels responsible and out of control and helpless.
Yeah.
And so what this gives her is control. She gets to make them afraid.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's about changing their behavior so much as making them afraid, because
Yeah.
that's what she does to the men. It's what she does to Madison.
Yeah.
Almost every single person, with the exception of the lawyer, and we'll get to him, and the dean, she makes them all afraid. So
Yeah.
she gets to take that control back for
Yeah.
like a second. And I think it's about that and not really about changing their behavior.
Yeah.
So let's talk about rape revenge movies for a
Okay,
second.
I did not know this was a thing.
Yeah,
Please
there's a
share.
whole genre in horror films. A
Horror,
whole
okay.
genre, cult, midnight movies, if you want to call them that, called rape revenge movies. They're not called that necessarily by the filmmakers, but that's the genre that's written about them critically. There's a lot of critical writing, especially by women, about rape revenge films. Here's the basic rundown. And the films I'm talking about are there's a very famous one from the 70s called I Spit on Your Grave. And then I would say Last House on the Left is also a rape revenge film, which was Wes Craven's first movie. Basically, here's the format of a rape revenge film. You have a young, innocent girl, usually a teenager, often a teenager, who gets herself in a situation where she is cornered by a group of men. A very graphic rape and assault scene occurs, incredibly graphic, prolonged. The woman is then left for dead. This is what happens in all these movies, and I just named off two of them, but there are many of them. The woman is then left for dead, or in some case dies. Then, in the third act of the film, either the woman or someone in her place. So in I Spit on Your Grave, it's the victim that does this, and in Last House on the Left, it's actually the parents of the victim who they actually enact the revenge. The last act is the revenge, and so, one by one, each of the perpetrators of the crime are then tortured and killed. This often includes genital mutilation, and that's the format for all of those films. Those films are considered to be entertainment. They are always written and directed by men. So I think that this movie takes the rape revenge format and subverts it. Because first of all, the focus is not on the victim. There is no prolonged gruesome rape scene. In fact, we don't get any details about that at all, really, except for what we need to know narratively. We don't ever see it, thank God.
Yeah.
We do get her going from from person to person.
Yeah.
But we do not get, and I'm going to save the ending until we get there, but we do not get a satisfying conclusion where order is restored because all of the perpetrators are dead or suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Not really.
No.
So I don't know if you want to respond to that, but that is a genre of film that I could not help thinking about while watching this movie.
Yeah, that's why would men make those films?
They were very popular. I don't think people really make them anymore, although they did do a remake of I Spit on Your Grave in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's like,
I think Straw Dogs is another example, I wanna
I
say.
don't understand. I guess I'm still hung up on why are men making those films because, like, that's not their story, and it's also the format, you know? Like you said, like, I like that this film didn't show that.
Mhm.
Um,
I think the answer is because the men who made those films don't I think historically in film, rape has been used as a plot device.
mhm,
It has been used for in place of character development.
mhm,
It has been used to motivate men to do things, and it has been used for shock value, which is, I think is probably the
yeah,
case in these types of films. It's used
yeah,
as a plot device and for shock value, for titillation, if you will.
yeah.
Um, so as a film that subverts the rape revenge genre, I think it did a really excellent job of doing that. I fucking hate those movies. I'm conflicted about Last House on the Left because I don't know if that's a film I would ever watch again. Um, but
Why are
yeah,
you conflicted on that one?
I'm not conflicted. I don't because when I watched Last House on the Left, I think about it differently now than I did when I saw it when I was like in my 20s. Like it means something different to me now. I thought it was gruesome and ugly then, but I kind of was able to view it at a distance. Um, but now I think looking back on it, I can see the how exploitive it is. And I don't watch movies from that genre typically.
I have never even heard of that genre, so I haven't seen any of those films.
I think that another cousin to that would be the torture porn film or films that are
Mhm.
about torture that were really popular in the early 2000s. I think
Like
that would be,
Saw,
yeah, like
which I
Saw,
also didn't see.
and there's a bunch of other ones that are kind of escaping me right now. Um, but that was kind of a term, torture porn, where it's more about the torture aspect of it. And I think that this movie uses our expectations for that to think that, oh, she's going to be mutilating them or getting some revenge on them physically, but it's not about that. Her revenge is making them scared
Mhm,
because they go their whole lives without feeling scared.
mhm.
And then I think later it shifts to wanting someone to feel sorry about what they did. So I
Yeah,
think she goes to Madison hoping that Madison will feel sorry. And she
yeah,
goes to Walker, the Dean Walker, hoping Dean Walker will feel sorry. And when that doesn't happen, she makes them afraid so they can
yeah,
feel that fear
yeah,
that Nina experienced.
yeah.
All right, what's next on your list? God, this is so hard to talk about. God, this movie isn't so intense.
So, Nina, let's see, we never actually hear the word suicide or
Mhm.
dead or killed herself
No,
or
they
but you
say that
just
she's dead. They do say
they
that.
they say she's dead, okay.
Yeah, she says
At the
to
during the scene between her and Al, right? He's like, "She's dead,
Al says she's dead. Yes,
she's
that's
dead."
I think the first time we get confirmation that she's dead. Yeah,
So, I knew she was dead very early on,
I
like,
did too.
it's just, like, something you kind of assume,
Yeah,
and I just assumed she killed herself as well,
yes, I thought that as well. Yeah,
um, which is why it makes sense why Cassie would still be hung up on the situation because she lost her and her their pictures of them in childhood, like,
yeah.
they're, like, childhood best friends.
She says she knew her when she was 4,
Yeah.
so that's a lifetime of friendship there.
Yeah, and then she was I think that Nina also was a promising young woman. They were both
Yep,
in med school,
top of the class.
mhm,
Nina was top of the class.
and this rape just derailed their lives, and
It took their lives away. like quite literally.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and, like, I experienced, some questionable behavior on the part of an ex, and well, two of them, actually, and it took me years to get past those relationships, and so I totally get and I did not experience what Nina experienced or, anything like that, but
and I don't think it's I don't think it's a pain contest, like I think
yeah,
you can
but I'm just
experience
saying, like,
trauma and there's no like, you
but
know.
if it took me out of commission for years from what happened to me, like, I can understand how it could like, experiencing that could completely mess you up for a long time.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and so I think one of the really strong symbols in this movie of carrying that grief around is the necklace that
Yeah,
Cassie wears. It's one of those heart necklaces, and it's that thing that every girl recognizes, and they use it in Jennifer's Body as well,
yeah,
because Jennifer's Body is about childhood friends also. And we did Jennifer's Body. If you're new to the show, we did Jennifer's Body last season in our as a Halloween episode, so in October. And in that episode, I talked about how I feel like Jennifer's Body is at the subtextually about the trauma of surviving a sexual assault.
mhm,
So in that film, you also have the friendship necklace, which is the classic symbol for girls, and the two halves of the necklace. And so Cassie has the Nina half, and so that's her kind of carrying around Nina with her wherever she goes.
yeah,
Um, and I thought that was a very strong symbol for that. Um, okay, what do you want to talk about next?
we already kinda mentioned Madison, we didn't really discuss her in
I think
detail,
we could go
but
through each of the numbers on her list. We sort of talked about what she does with the guys, which is
okay.
that she pretends to be so inebriated that she can't function, and she waits for them to help her, and really they're going to take her home and take advantage of her, and then she reveals herself.
And,
um
like, she reveals herself after they've already, like, touched her, and,
yes,
like
she waits for them to assault her. Yeah.
yeah, and so, I would not I mean, like, even if I agreed with revenge, I would be like, "That's my body." Like, I would not wanna put myself
Well, I don't think
in
she's
that
what she's doing.
situation.
I don't think we're expected to feel like what she's doing is healthy.
Okay,
I don't
yeah,
think the movie is asking us to see that as a healthy thing. I think what the movie is asking us to examine is how trauma ripples outward,
yeah,
and how Nina's trauma, who although Nina is not a part of this movie, and I think that that can we can feel a lot of ways about that. I feel like Nina's presence of physically not being in the movie allows it prevents us from exploiting or sensationalizing what happened to her. So I don't think that story is specifically about that event so much as the trauma and the that ripples outward. So and of course that most immediately is Cassie absorbing that trauma and that violence in the same way that Jennifer in Jennifer's Body absorbs that violence and then spreads it outward.
yeah,
So it's like that same thing in Jennifer's Body where the violence creates a monster inside of you that you
mhm,
then take out on other people.
mhm,
And that's what I think Cassie is doing, is taking that out on other people. That's her only
mhm,
relief that she can get.
yeah.
We didn't really talk about Gail Laverne Cox. I think we should talk about Gail for a moment
Oh,
and then maybe go
yeah,
through all the. So
yeah,
anything you want to say about Gail? Gail's like really her only friend at this point.
yeah, she's very sweet, and she's very protective of Cassie,
She
um,
wants to help her move on with her
yeah,
life. I think she represents, if Cassie were able to move on, that she could have friendships and relationships with people, and maybe trust again. I think it's hard for her to open up to another friendship, another deep
yeah,
friendship. And I
yeah,
think it's hard for her to open up romantically. And I think that's something we see her experimenting with Ryan. Doesn't work
mhm,
out so well. But we do see her trying to move on. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, Gail is I thought she was a really nice character, and not a lot of scenes that she's in,
Mhm.
but I liked
Laverne Cox
when
is
she was.
wonderful.
I know.
She really, I think, you know, in a different world, Cassie could have let go of some things and and allowed herself to have a friendship.
Yeah.
And I think Gail like that's I think she got as close to Gail as she could
And Gail
in that.
understood. Gail, like, understood her and understood that she couldn't
But I
get
don't know
there.
if I don't know how much Gail knows about her past either. I don't think they really address that. So I'm not sure if I get the sense that Gail cares a lot about her, but maybe that Cassie didn't open up a whole lot
Yeah.
about herself
Yeah.
because she's like, I think Gail probably was a person who was like, we're going to be friends,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I think anybody was going to get in with
Yeah.
Cassie at that point in
She
her
offers
life,
to fire her,
so that she'll move on
so
with
that
her
she can move
life.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. That's love right there.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Let's talk about each one of the numbers on her list. So she's
Okay.
got the notebook, but that's for the guys.
Yes.
So then she starts another page in the notebook where she's actually. So what happens is, I guess we need to talk about Ryan first. We didn't really talk too much about Ryan, but Ryan is her past coming back into her life,
Mhm.
literally into the
Guy
coffee
from
shop.
guy from med school she went to school with who
Now, how
apparently
do you
had a.
feel about this? Because you're a big Bo Burnham fan. So I
I
don't know
am a
how this
big
was for you to
I am a
watch
big
this
Bo Burnham
go
fan.
down.
I really liked how he played the character.
Yeah.
Because you really wanna like this guy. Um, and you do like him for a lot of the time, but there are a few things that just are like, I.
Well, he represents that problematic in between, that area, the gray area between nice guy and not nice guy.
Yeah.
That area of complacency and, well,
But
what.
also he pushes. When she says no, he doesn't accept her no, and he keeps asking her out.
Yeah, but yes, but I
No,
don't.
no, seriously, that's something that is, like, that is a pet peeve, that is one of those things that,
Mhm.
like, it gets overlooked, like, it's not
It's
rape,
fair.
yes, but when women don't wanna go out with you and you keep asking them, that is not okay.
You're right. You're right. I also think that Cassie was not going to let anyone in who didn't say, seriously, though, I really want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
I really think
Well.
Cassie was not open to moving on. And I think if Ryan had not been a part of that traumatic event in her life in the way that he was, I think that they would have been able to move on and be happy.
Mhm.
But the movie
Yeah.
doesn't let us have that, and it doesn't let her have that.
Well, it's.
And it gives him multiple opportunities to fix what he did, and
Yeah.
he still doesn't take them.
And it also uses the rom-com trope of the man
Of the meet cute.
the meet cute who
Yeah. Yeah.
persists in pursuing when she says no.
Mhm.
Um, that's part of the rom-com thing.
Sure.
That's
And he also
because.
takes her on a very long walk at the end of their first date and magically ends up at his apartment, which is very
Mhm,
presumptuous of him.
mhm, mhm,
And
and she
uh,
calls him out on it, and he's
yeah.
like, "I'm sorry,"
Yeah.
you know? Yeah,
I think that I think Ryan and Cassie's relationship is one of the really smart, well written. Like, this movie is very well written, I think. But especially to include that relationship that is what we most of us experience, which is the weirdness of saying no and then having somebody keep asking you, the weirdness of them suggesting you sleep together on the first date even though it's like way too much. The like there's a lot of things that she does too that's unfair to him, like, that scene outside the club where she's already said I don't want to go out, and then she in needing to get some of that feeling out of her system where she gets that control back, she tries to go home with someone and he runs into her and he's very hurt about it, understandably.
yeah,
And she doesn't tell him what's going on. She
She
never
doesn't tell him.
reveals
Yeah,
to him why she left med school. She doesn't talk to him about any of that. Um,
which I think I understand not wanting to traumatize yourself, and I could totally understand that because it took me a long time for me to open up with my current partner,
but you
um
know what? It turns out he doesn't deserve her honesty.
mhm,
So if in a different world, it would have she would have opened up to him eventually and told him everything about how hard that was for her. And I got to tell you, like I mean, I talked about this on the Jennifer's Body episode, like her relationship with Nina, like being the friend that no one really notices because your friend is so exciting and beautiful. Like I know that's me. Like I am that person. And I had a lot of Ninas in my life, who, and you're always trying to protect each other, and you're always worried that one time that you're not together, something's bad's going to happen to somebody. It's like that scene in the van in Jennifer's Body where Needy is watching the van door close, like I've been on the outside of that van a lot of times, you know. Um and I completely lost my train of thought there. Oh, this is just like so much to cover here. I think that I know what it's like to I also know what it's like to lose somebody and this is not in reference to the kind of things that happen in this movie, but I know what it's like to lose somebody who you love desperately, and how it's really hard to move on with your life because it doesn't feel fair. Because why did I get to live? What's so good about me? Why not this other person? You know?
yeah,
So I understand that too. And I understand how you can get stuck in that and not be able to move on. And the thing is she does try to move on. Um but she puts her trust in the wrong person
yeah,
unknowingly.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really smart how they use all those little rom-com tropes, the meet cute,
Yeah,
the
there was
singing at the pharmacy together,
the montage, the love
mhm,
montage. Yeah, and then, like, the
dinner
whole,
with
like,
the
"I think I'm in
parents.
love with you, I think I'm in love with you
Yeah,
too."
the whole dinner with the parents, all of it.
And he was very cute and charming and
Mhm,
sweet for the most part,
mhm. It's just
but
then you find
and
out what he
and
really did.
and then, of course, both, uh, Ryan and Al, who we meet I'm not gonna jump ahead to that scene, but I'm like, they both say, "We were kids. I was a kid,"
Mhm, 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 mhm.
as if being 19, 20 is a kid
Well,
who doesn't know
if you're in med school, you're at least
22, 22,
I'm gonna
23?
say at least 23,
Yeah,
I would think.
that's not a kid.
No, you're not a
You're
kid.
an adult.
You're a grown ass adult.
Mhm,
Um, so what happens is Ryan enters her life and then begins talking about people that they mutually knew back
mhm,
in med school, and that kind of gets her thinking about Al,
mhm,
who the rapist in this
yeah,
scenario, and he's getting married, and there's all these other people that were tangentially involved in here, the enablers.
mhm,
I would call them the enablers, and she's going to go
yeah,
one by one through her list and try to do something similar to what she's doing with the guys, to make them afraid, to give them the fear, to give them the opportunity to atone,
atone, yes,
and when they don't atone, then to give them the fear that she
yeah,
feels like they need to have.
yeah.
So let's start with Madison.
So,
What do you
yeah,
want to say about Madison?
she, texts her or calls her up, they, meet for lunch, and Cassie pours Matt Addison champagne before she gets there and pours herself ginger ale.
Mhm. So she gets
And so
Madison drunk. Yeah.
she gets Madison drunk, and Madison gets very drunk,
Mhm.
and they're talking, and then as Madison is very drunk, Cassie brings up the rape, and Madison gets very flustered, and it kind of, like,
Defensive.
defensive, and the way the lines work, the way it's written is very like, "But she was so drunk," and it's like, "Oh, look at you. You're just as drunk as she might have been or maybe more. Do you deserve to be raped right now?" At least that's what I was
I think that's what
thinking in my
I think
mind.
that's what Cassie was getting at. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that so Madison was an enabler in the sense that she didn't believe that Nina she perpetrated the myth that Nina was just sleeping around and
Mhm.
got too drunk and did something she regretted later and then lied about what happened. So
Yeah.
she kind of and apparently Madison and Nina and Cassie were very close at school.
Mhm.
Um this was
I
the
think
first time in the movie where I begin to feel because I did not have any qualms about Cassie going out and hoodwinking these guys. I felt like they all deserved it, frankly. I'm not saying I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. It made me feel very tense and uncomfortable. So I'm not saying I was like, "Ooh, this is a fun romp." Made me feel very uncomfortable, but I didn't feel any sympathy for any of those guys. I'm not saying I felt very complicated feelings going forward with each of these people because this is the part where I started to feel like Cassie was taking it too far. Now we're led to believe she did certain things that she actually doesn't do. But in this case, she gets Madison drunk. She asks Madison if she feels any differently about things now, and basically Madison continues to say, "Well, we were just kids," I think is another thing she said.
yeah.
And so Cassie's like, "Well, I'm really disappointed to hear that for your sake." And you're like, "Oh fuck, what's she gonna do?" So she hired somebody,
A man.
a man, to take her up to the hotel room, and I assumed, what did you
Yeah,
assume?
I assumed to rape her or to assault
To have
her in
sex
some
with
way.
her or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And that's when I began to go, "Ooh, this is
Yeah.
too far."
Yeah.
Now, what later we discover she didn't do that. She actually
Yeah.
had him tuck her in and make her think that that was what happened.
Yeah.
Which is
But how are we
also
supposed to
pretty fucked
know?
up.
Because if you notice, the guy she hired was one of the guys
No, it's not.
y who, during the first scene
It's not that guy.
it's not that guy?
Nope. I thought
Are
so
you
too.
sure?
I rewound it and I was like, "Oh, it's a different guy." It's not.
It
They
looks
look
just
similar
like him.
because Sarah, all the white dudes in this movie look the same except for McLovin. I was like, "Oh, that's McLovin."
That's McLovin, yeah.
McLovin is doing a lot of coke in this movie.
Mhm.
No, that was a different actor. Not the same actor, different guy.
Wow, okay. But
So
yeah, so that was what I assumed, and I, also was like, "Fuck this. That's not cool." But also, like, the whole thing with
no, I think
Madison.
she doesn't have friends, Sarah. She has made connections with some shady people that she can pay to help her. Like I don't know what she was planning to do with that lawyer, break his legs. I don't know. She was gonna. It seemed like that guy was there to fuck him up physically,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I don't know what she was gonna do because we think she's gonna do something physically to these people, but it's really psychological. It's
Oh,
psychological
psychological, yeah.
damage that she's causing, I think.
Yeah.
Welcome to Plug It Up. This is the part of the show where we ordinarily talk about stuff and plug it, but I don't feel like plugging things today. It just doesn't feel like I don't feel like plugging. Although now I'm thinking about Jennifer's
Jennifer's
body.
body. Yes, I was just
Are
thinking.
you plugging? Because it seems like you are.
Seems like
Um, So I will say that if anybody wants to talk about this movie, if you've seen it, and you want to talk about it. We're on social media, and I'm interested to hear all of your thoughts. Those of you that listen to the show, if you want to talk about it, we are on Facebook and Instagram at Feminine Mistake Pod, and you can find us on Twitter at Fem Mistake Pod. Of course, you can listen to this podcast on all the usual podcast apps, and we also will post the vidcast to Critical Crop Tops channel on YouTube. Instead, what I'd like to do is plug the RAIN organization, which is an organization that's been around for a long time, the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. So if you would like to donate to Rain, who is fighting to provide help, mental health services, and other programs to not only prevent violence, sexual violence, but help survivors. Make sure that the people that perpetrate this kind of violence are brought to justice. If you would like to donate to them, or if you yourself are seeking some help, the phone number is 1-800-856-HOPE, or you can find Rain at rain.org. So that's RAINN.org. Okay, Sarah. Well, we made it. We made it through. We made it through.
You're my best friend. I love you.
I love you too, Sarah.
Yep.
I love you.